What happens when Hollywood spends huge money and audiences simply walk away? 2025 was supposed to be the year theaters bounced back. Bigger budgets, bigger stars, louder marketing, and yet something broke. Movies didn't just underperform, they collapsed. Half-empty cinemas, silent opening weekends, and balance sheets bleeding red. Some of these films had everything going for them. Others never stood a chance. But every one of them left studios asking the same question. How did this go so wrong? Number 13. Fight or Flight. 2025. This one hurt because it almost looked like a surprise hit. Almost. Fight or Flight arrived with the kind of setup studios dream about. A tight action idea, a recognizable lead. Early critic praise that screamed sleeper success. For a brief moment, it felt like this could be one of those underdog stories that sneaks up on everyone. Then reality hit. The movie cost around $40 million to make. Not massive by blockbuster standards, but still serious money. The studio rolled it out wide, pushing it into thousands of theaters. That's a vote of confidence. But audiences didn't return the favor. The opening weekend barely made a dent, and things only got worse from there. Timing crushed it. Bigger franchise films were already dominating screens. On top of that, the movie had already been seen overseas through early releases and unofficial channels, killing any urgency. By the time it landed properly in theaters, the curiosity was gone. The final worldwide total barely crossed 4 million. That's not disappointing. That's devastating. Fight or Flight didn't fail because people hated it. It failed because nobody cared enough to show up. And in modern theaters, indifference is the most expensive reaction of all. Number 12. Shadow Force. 2025. Shadow Force feels like a movie that knew it was in trouble long before audiences did. On paper, it should have worked. Recognizable cast, familiar action formula, studio backing. But from the outside, something felt off. Marketing was quiet. Screenings were limited. Buzz never arrived. The budget floated somewhere between 40 and 60 million depending on who you ask. That alone raised eyebrows when the trailers finally dropped. Because nothing on screen looked like it cost that much. The story felt recycled, the energy felt low, and critics were not kind when reviews finally surfaced. Theatrically, the result was brutal. Shadow Force barely scraped together 5 million worldwide. That's not a stumble. That's a full stop. Even later, streaming success couldn't erase the theatrical embarrassment. What went wrong here wasn't ambition. It was confusion. The movie didn't know who it was for. Too serious for casual viewers. Too shallow for fans of smarter action. It landed in the worst possible place. The middle of nowhere. Shadow Force is a reminder that hiding a movie doesn't protect it. It only makes the silence louder when numbers come in. Or number 11. Edington. 2025. Edington was always going to be a challenge, and to be fair, the studio knew that. This wasn't a crowd-pleasing spectacle. It was a strange, thoughtful, slow-burning project built on mood and atmosphere. The cast was strong, the director had credibility, but box office success was never guaranteed. Still, the budget hovered around 25 to 30 million. Manageable, reasonable, until release timing destroyed any chance it had. Edington landed right in the middle of blockbuster season, surrounded by massive franchises pulling all attention away. The opening weekend brought in just 4 million across more than 2,000 theaters. That's a warning sign you can't ignore. Word of mouth stayed quiet. Screens disappeared fast. By the end of its run, the movie barely reached 11 million worldwide. The loss wasn't catastrophic on paper, but it mattered symbolically. This was another example of thoughtful, original filmmaking getting squeezed out of theaters. Edington didn't fail creatively, it failed strategically. And that's the trend of 2025. The middle ground keeps shrinking. Either you're huge or you vanish. Number 10. Caught Stealing. 2025. This one stings because it actually worked. Caught Stealing was sharp, fast, and tightly made. Critics noticed immediately. Praise rolled in. People called it clever, efficient. One of the director's strongest efforts in years. On quality alone, it deserved better. But the box office didn't care. The movie cost about $40 million to produce. Worldwide, it didn't even cross $30 million. That's a loss studios can't ignore. After just a short theatrical run, it was quietly shifted toward home viewing. The problem wasn't awareness. People knew it existed. The problem was habit. Audiences have been trained to wait. Mid-budget adult films no longer feel urgent on the big screen. Viewers assume they'll show up at home soon enough. Caught Stealing became another example in a growing pile. Well-made, well-reviewed, well-ignored. It didn't fail because it was bad. It failed because the industry no longer knows how to sell this kind of movie in theaters. And that might be the scariest lesson of all. Number 9. Eden. 2025. Eden should have been safe. Strong director, award-level cast, festival premiere. Everything about it suggested prestige success. But from the moment it debuted, the momentum just stopped. After its festival showing, the movie sat in limbo for months. Distribution delays killed excitement. Reviews landed mixed. Then, the worst possible thing happened. The film leaked early. By the time it reached theaters, the audience had already moved on. Its domestic opening barely touched 1 million. Worldwide, it crawled to just over 2 million. For a film with this pedigree, those numbers are painful. The loss wasn't just financial, it was reputational. Eden didn't collapse because it was terrible. It collapsed because no one knew when or how to care. In 2025, timing is everything. Miss the moment, and even quality gets buried. This wasn't a bomb with fireworks. It was a slow fade. And sometimes, that's worse. Number 8. The Smashing Machine. 2025. This one shocked people because all the signals said it should work. Big star, serious role, festival applause, industry praise everywhere. For weeks, the narrative was simple. This is the performance that changes everything. Then it opened. The Smashing Machine arrived quietly and left even faster. The opening weekend pulled in less than 6 million. For a film starring one of the most recognizable faces in Hollywood, that number was brutal. The budget sat somewhere between 50 and 60 million. By the end of its run, the worldwide total barely reached 18 million. That's not a stumble, that's a collapse. The issue wasn't quality. Critics respected the performance. The issue was expectation. Audiences didn't want realism. They didn't want heavy. They didn't want to watch a tough story about real struggle from a star usually associated with spectacle and escape. The drop after opening weekend was massive. Screens vanished. Momentum died instantly. Even strong word of mouth couldn't revive it. The Smashing Machine proves a hard truth about modern moviegoing. Star power alone no longer guarantees curiosity. If the tone doesn't match what audiences expect, they won't follow you, no matter how good the acting is. Number 7. Paul Anderson's fantasy epic, 2025. This was meant to be a grand fantasy adventure. Instead, it became one of the fastest disappearing acts of the year. With a budget around 55 million, expectations weren't outrageous. The cast had name recognition. The source material had fans. Years of development went into getting this thing made. On paper, it sounded like solid counter-programming. Then it opened. The movie debuted to just 3.5 million. That was essentially the end of the story. No buzz followed. No recovery happened. The visuals looked dated. The effects felt cheap, and audiences didn't connect. What hurt most was how forgettable it became. People didn't argue about it. They didn't debate it. They simply moved on. For a fantasy film, that's the worst possible outcome. If viewers don't want to revisit the world dies immediately. The loss wasn't just money, it was opportunity. This was supposed to be a franchise starter. Instead, it became a reminder that fantasy without wonder is just noise. Number 6. Elio, 2025. Pixar used to be untouchable. That reputation didn't survive 2025. Elio cost around 150 million. From the start, the production struggled. Creative disagreements, rewrites, staff departures. The original vision softened into something safer and blander. By the time the film reached theaters, it felt tired before it even began. The opening weekend was the lowest in Pixar's history. Let that sink in. A studio that once dominated families worldwide suddenly couldn't pull them into seats. Overseas numbers didn't help. Word of mouth stayed cold. Critics weren't kind, audiences didn't recommend it, and the movie quietly vanished from theaters soon after. Elio didn't just lose money, it damaged trust. Families used to assume Pixar meant quality. 2025 broke that assumption, and once that belief cracks, it's hard to rebuild. This wasn't a one-time mistake. It was part of a pattern, and the studio clearly noticed because the future slate immediately shifted towards safer sequels. Number 5. One Battle After Another, 2025. This is the rare case where acclaim and failure existed side by side. One Battle After Another was praised everywhere that mattered creatively. Critics loved it. Industry legends praised it. Award talk exploded months before release. And yet the math never worked. The budget climbed to around $175 million. That's massive for this type of film. To break even, it needed numbers it was never going to reach. And it didn't. Worldwide totals hovered around $200 million at best. That means losses north of $100 million. The problem wasn't rejection. Audiences respected the film. The problem was scale. This story didn't need this budget. The spectacle didn't justify the cost. In an era where lean filmmaking wins, excess became the enemy. One Battle After Another is proof that prestige doesn't protect you from financial reality. You can win awards and still lose the war at the box office. Number 4. A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey, 2025. This was meant to be Sony's prestige moment. A quiet, confident film designed to impress critics, awards voters, and serious movie fans. Instead, it became one of the coldest audience rejections of the year. A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey had everything studios usually trust. A director known for careful, elegant storytelling. 2 respected stars with real credibility. Sony believed in it enough to spend roughly $50 million just to secure the film. Production added another $45 million. By the time marketing entered the picture, the total investment passed $100 million. But belief does not guarantee interest. Festival momentum never arrived. The release date shifted quietly. Promotion felt restrained, almost unsure. When reviews landed, they were rough. Audience response was even colder. Less than half of viewers said they would recommend it. The opening weekend told the story fast, just $3.5 million domestically. No recovery followed. The film faded from theaters with a worldwide total barely reaching $20 million. This wasn't about timing or competition. It was about connection. Sony tried to present importance without giving audiences a clear reason to care. Big names were expected to do the work the story could not. A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey shows how fragile prestige has become. If people don't feel invited, they don't show up, and silence, not outrage, is what costs studios the most. Number 3. Thunderbolts, 2025. There was a time when the Marvel logo guaranteed success. That time is over. Thunderbolts arrived with a massive budget of around $180 million and expectations that history would repeat itself. Disney treated it like another must-see chapter. Big rollout, heavy promotion, confidence everywhere. Audiences disagreed. The movie made roughly $382 million worldwide. That sounds fine until you look closer. With marketing and distribution added, the break-even point sat near $500 million. Thunderbolts never got close. The result was a loss well above $100 million, and for the first time, Disney admitted it publicly. Investor reports directly pointed to Thunderbolts as a contributor to financial decline that quarter. That's rare. Studios don't like naming failures. The bigger issue was interest. These characters didn't feel essential. Viewers didn't feel urgency. Many assumed it would show up at home quickly, and they were right. Thunderbolts didn't collapse overnight. It slowly faded as people realized the formula no longer worked by default. This wasn't hate, it was fatigue, and fatigue is far harder to fix than backlash. Number 2. Snow White, 2025. This was supposed to be a guaranteed win. Instead, it became one of Disney's most expensive miscalculations ever. Snow White went through extensive reshoots, rewrites, and delays. By the time it hit theaters, the reported cost exceeded $270 million. That's before marketing. Expectations were enormous. The box office response was not. Worldwide, the movie landed around $205 million. That number doesn't even come close to covering costs. Industry estimates placed the loss at roughly $115 million. What went wrong wasn't just noise online. It was the movie itself. Pacing issues, flat energy, expensive visuals that didn't feel magical. Families didn't connect. Repeat viewings never happened. After the collapse, familiar patterns emerged. Quiet blame shifting, anonymous leaks, but the truth was simple. The audience never wanted this version of the story. Snow White didn't fail because of controversy. It failed because it didn't inspire wonder. And when fantasy loses wonder, money disappears fast. Number 1. Tron, 2025. This is the biggest financial disaster of the year, and it was completely avoidable. Disney revived Tron, hoping visuals alone could carry the experience. Official budget numbers were kept vague, but industry insiders put the true cost near $220 million. Add global marketing, and the investment became massive. The box office never responded. Opening weekend missed projections. The second weekend collapsed. Worldwide totals stalled just above $100 million, with a realistic ceiling near $160. That math is brutal. Losses exceeded $130 million. What makes this worse is that Disney likely knew this would happen. Tron has never been a strong theatrical performer. It survives through aesthetics, soundtracks, and theme park branding. That's exactly what this film became. A commercial for rides, a branding exercise, not a story audiences cared about. Tron didn't fail loudly. It failed quietly, and that silence cost more than any bad review ever could. 2025 didn't just deliver flops. It delivered a warning. Big budgets without clear purpose are dangerous. Familiar brands aren't automatic anymore, and audiences are far more selective than studios expected. Some of these movies were bad, some were good, but all of them ignored the same lesson. People won't show up just because you spent more. Which of these surprised you the most? And which lesson do you think Hollywood still refuses to learn?